Welcome to Spotlight on the Arts. Hi, I'm Iris Acker, and I'm your host this evening. Let's meet our panel. Karen Stevens is an award-winning actress. Andy Rogo is the artistic director of Island City Stage. And Bill Hirschman is an arts journalist. Our guest today is Kevin Black of Kevin Black Productions. Who is Kevin Black, and what is Kevin Black Productions?
Oh, is he here today?
He better be.
I hope so.
He better be.
Yeah. So Kevin Black is a very a Southern boy raised in South Carolina that wanted to be a dancer at 12 and kind of against the grain in South Carolina, Southern Baptist, but did it anyway. And auditioned for Theme Park is how I got my start. So I graduated high school on one day, and the next day I was opening a show at a theme park. And after that, I guess it's history.
Okay. So now you have a whole production company
I do.
because you do this. You do what?
I do a lot.
For example.
I do a lot. I write original review shows for Stage Door Theater, as most of you well know. I also am the associate producer there, so trying to help move the company in a direction, run the theater, make sure all the dot the I's, cross the T's kind of thing. I also produce on cruise lines and tours. I have a kids show that's Theater for Young Audiences that's just came back from a tour in Seattle, Washington. And all kinds of stuff.
A kids show?
I do.
Performed by children?
No, performed by adults for children. Theater for Young Audiences.
Theater for Young Audiences.
Yeah.
Well, you certainly get around. What do you do for a hobby? Or what's in between?
There are no hobbies. My hobby would be sleep.
Okay. Now that you're here,
Yes.
let's say, what are you doing right now?
What am I doing right now? Well, of course, we're gearing up for the Carbonell Awards.
So now that's something else to add to your list of productions.
Yes. So the Carbonell Awards, very, very exciting. Hoping to bring some new and exciting and fresh, entertaining ideas to the Carbonell Awards.
Where do you find your talent?
Where do I find my talent? Well, I have a lot of people that have worked for me and with me for years, and I really appreciate those kind of reputations because they really understand what I want and what I look for. So it's great to build those relationships with people such as Ben Bagby, my musical director, who just, he just sent me something I asked him to do, and I just say two sentences and he's perfect and he knows exactly what I want. But we do a lot of online submissions from New York or around. We get a lot of people from Chicago, LA, and I get a lot of people that way as well.
So video is in, videotape.
I more than ever before, I think it's cost effective. I mean, would I love to go to New York and audition every 3 months? I would love it. But finding the time and finding the money for it and, being budget conscious and cost effective, this online submission is a new and interesting way to get talent.
Kevin, what made you originally transition from being a dancer to becoming the producer?
So I was only a dancer for a couple years, from like 18 to 21. I started my company at 21. I very quickly realized that being on stage was not as rewarding as I thought it might be. I know, but that's why it takes all of us in this world, right? That's why it takes all of us. I mean, I was good. I enjoyed it. I was getting hired a lot. I was tall, so that was very helpful in the dance world. But Gina and Ryan actually saw potential, and she said, would you like to direct and choreograph some shows? And I was 20.
Tell our audience who Gina Ann Ryan is, because a lot of people might not know who she is.
So Gina Ann Ryan actually is a producer that she actually began the concept of having entertainment other than a band or a comedian or something on a cruise line. So she kind of she pitched to Norwegian Cruise Lines back in the day, why don't we hire singers and dancers, and we'll put on, like, in those days called sort of like a Vegas style review.
Yeah.
And then after that was successful, she was the first one to say, let's put Broadway shows on. So I worked with her on the Norway with Meet Me in St. Louis. We did Grease on the Starward. We did several Broadway shows, and she kind of created that world that is now, accepted and huge. I mean, Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines, massive ships, massive stages, book shows that are phenomenal, as well as review shows, and yeah. So she gave me my start. She's the reason I moved to Fort Lauderdale.
Wow.
You've had a lot of success in building reviews, some of them from scratch.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the process that's involved in that? When do you hear somebody's music and go, there's enough in there worthy of putting a review together, but your reviews are different. There's often a through line to them. They're organized better, and you definitely get performances from your singers that are more than just, I'm going to come out and I got a nice voice. Talk a little about how you do that.
Well, the choice in the theme is first and foremost based on what's going to sell tickets. Because I'm a businessman first. So it's going to be what's going to sell tickets. So once that theme or concept is decided, which is, usually a year or two out from actually conceiving or producing the show, you're simply coming up with a concept or a title. A title is everything, as we know, to sell a ticket. So you got that title out there. Then I've got about a year and a half to create. So I just let things come to me. I take notes on my phone. And then when it's time, like a year later, I'll read back those notes and go, oh, that was crap. Let's get rid of that. Oh, this is good. Maybe we can elaborate on this. And I start there. But in all honesty, once I've cast the show, the cast dictates where we're going to go and what we're going to do. I try my very best to take the talent I have and use it to its best ability.
Can you give an example?
Sure. So let's say for Swing, 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 right? I mean, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted this section, I wanted a Cotton Club tribute, I wanted to tell little stories. I mean, I have all that. I knew the songs that I wanted. I knew I wanted to include Stormy Weather. I knew it was a ballad that was going to go in the Cotton Club section, that she was, going to have a whole backstory of why she was singing this song. Sharon Peoples, who was the lead in the show, suggested to me, it might be interesting to throw in Come Rain or Come Shine with Stormy Weather. I said, you know what? You're right. And we started to workshop it, and it came out perfect.
Because you also change tempos and phrasing. You'll take a standard that everybody can do in their sleep and change it up in a way that makes you hear the lyrics the way you've never heard them before. I'm assuming this is all intentional. You do a cappella versions of songs that are close harmony. Talk a little about that.
Yeah, I think when you think about pop music, top 40, what's on the radio, you are more often than not just kind of enjoying the groove of the song, and you're not really listening to the lyric. And I think when you go back, especially like when we did the Soul of Motor City, it's so amazing how great and those lyrics are, and how much depth they have, and how much meaning, but yet you're just used to enjoying them with, and dancing to them. So taking like, I Heard It Through the Grapevine and turning it into a ballad and making it, about the torment that the man is going through because he's heard that his ex is is with someone
What's
else
interesting
now.
though, Kevin, is you're saying that you tell these stories, but in fact you use no dialogue, and the stories are still comprehensible. And I'm curious. So many reviews have this very innocuous. Now it's 1969 and blah blah. Did you make a conscious decision not to use dialogue in your reviews, or did that just sort of happen organically? That you felt you didn't need that kind of connector.
Sure. Well, there are rules against that. Number one, so I have to play legally what I can and cannot do. But I feel like if you pick a good songbook, that the dialogue is there. It just happens to be sung, and it may not be an hour and a half story that's from top to bottom. They may be 6 or 7 stories within an hour and a half. But if you take that lyric and you present it that way, there's your story right there.
That's interesting. Do you when you audition for your reviews, do you do it seasonally or per show?
I do it per show.
What makes that better for you?
I mean, we have in the past done season auditions. I've done season auditions, and inevitably you cast a show or 10 shows, and inevitably 25 to 50% of those people back out.
Wow.
And so because they got a better gig, a different gig, something they wanted to do, something that's closer to home, you don't fault any of those people for that. I mean, I want people to do the work that makes them happy, because that's why we're all here, right? But for me, I find it better that we audition right before, a month or two before we're actually going to go into rehearsal, because then I'm getting people who are available and want a job. Yeah.
When you started your production company, did you have seed money? How did you get started? Where did the capital come from? How did how did that work?
I love that question. I love that question. Okay, yeah, I did.
Okay.
It's not a lot, but I'll tell you the story. So my first car was a '67 Mustang, which is really hot to have in high school. I loved it. But then my second car was like a VW Bug, like the old ones, not the new revamped ones, right? So my graduating high school, my parents had given me that, and so it was, I didn't have to pay anything on it. So I needed some money. So my mom and dad signed a loan and put up my Bug as collateral. So it was $3,000. That's how I started.
Wow.
Not a lot of money. Not a lot of money to start.
And then you hired yourself as the costume
And then I hired
designer.
myself as the costumer.
And the prop
missing?
builder.
Yeah.
Yeah, people
Not
don't know
heard.
he's an amazing costume designer, and he can sew all his own stuff.
What is missing? Producer.
Yeah.
Will you just step back, hire a director, hire a choreographer?
Yeah. I mean, I'm known a lot for choreography. I'm known a lot for, concepts, conceptualizing and stuff, but I identify first and foremost as a producer. I love business. I love numbers. I work on trying to keep my company successful and Stage Door successful. So that's how I identify the most. And this upcoming season, funny you should mention, I'm making a conscious effort. I am stepping away from the directing and the choreographing and all of that stuff, and I just want to produce.
You do?
I do. I do. So for instance, I'm in rehearsal. We have a tap show coming up. It's all a celebration of tap dance.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear
Including clogging, because that's my roots from the South. And Irish step dance and flamenco we're putting in. It's all very
Wow.
exciting. So in order to get all those different styles, I've hired 7 different choreographers for that show. And so that is the goal from here on.
And where will it be?
That will be at Stage Door.
Stage Door.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And now Stage Door is located in a new place.
Yes.
Which is?
We're moving to the Lauderhill Performing Arts Center, or the LPAC
Yeah.
for short. Yeah, the LPAC. Beautiful, gorgeous facility. Seats 1,200, but we're scaling it down to a 400-seater. And 42 fly rails. I'm just like a kid in a candy store. I'm excited.
It has wings. It
It has
bathrooms.
wings. I mean, if you've been backstage at Stage Door, you
Yeah.
know this is a massive step
And
up for us.
dressing rooms.
Like 8 dressing rooms. We could have a cast of 50. Well, the businessman in me is like, no, we can't afford a cast of 50. But
So what will change about Stage Door season now that there's only one space now instead of two?
Yeah.
What is that going to change, or is it going to change anything?
it does change a little bit. You know, at the current facility, we were producing 12 shows a year, and it's 365 days a year, and we're all wearing 25 hats each there, and it's really, it's kind of killing us. So the new facility, we will go nonstop, so it will be 365 days a year for us, but it's an 8-show season.
Whoa, that's a long
8-show season.
For 400 seats.
For
8
400 seats, and now our runs will go down to 4 weeks instead of 6 or 7. Yeah, and we will no longer have 2 theaters, although there is a rec room, a specialty room, a black box, whatever you might want to call it, right off the lobby. So there is talk, if everything goes well, knock wood, that we can start doing maybe more of the review type things, or the smaller productions that would fit in a black box in that space. But that will not be this season.
A lot
Baby
of
steps.
royalties are saved that way, isn't it?
Yeah.
The average audience doesn't appreciate
They don't
what
know how
it
much-
costs to put on a show. The royalties, royalties.
So my background was always cruise lines, corporate events, tours that, I never really knew the theater world, much less the South Florida theater world, until probably 10 years ago. I kind of got into it, and just about 5 years ago, got into it heavily with Dee Wilson Bunn, the executive producer at Stage Door. The more I learn, the more I go, this is crazy.
Yeah.
It takes so much money. It takes so much effort. Running a theater, everyone in South Florida should be commended. Running a theater is not an easy task, and it is not an inexpensive one at all.
What other things did you learn, the difference between going from cruise ship presentations to a full-fledged sit-down somewhere? What kinds of things that you went, oh, hello?
Other than the money.
Other than the money.
Well, we're going to say that. But the biggest thing, in regards to the money, is when you're doing a tour or a corporate event or a cruise line, you know what you're getting. You know what your gross is right off the bat. You know how much you have to spend. The biggest challenge for me is working in a theater, relying on those ticket sales and driving them every single day. How do you drive ticket sales every single day?
What about
That's the-
fundraising? Is Stage Door in a position to do fundraising?
We will soon be. We will soon be. The running 2 theaters and 12 shows a year, and it's just keeping our head above water right now. The hope is moving to the new facility takes a lot of the responsibility of what we, box office and all that stuff goes away. And so hopefully that extra time will be focused more into fundraising and grant writing and all of that stuff that we all have to do in theater to survive.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of the shows you do have really elaborate costumes,
Yeah.
and one of the associates in your production company is Jerry Sturdivant.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about how the costumes are done? Because he created some costumes for a show I did recently, and they were absolutely fantastic.
Right, yeah. So Jerry and I, like Ben Bagby and I, go way back. way back. You know, Jerry and I met years ago, and he was an actor first, and he worked for other costume companies, and he started his own costume company for a while, and then he went back to the corporate world, and then he started again. And when he started again, I said, you know, I have a ton of costumes myself. And I said, Jerry, you know, I'm really tired of looking at these costumes. I'm tired of the maintenance. I'm tired of the upkeep. So we kind of joined forces. I gave him all of my stuff. He can use it however he wishes. And then when I need it, I can use it. And then we have this great partnership now. But, you know, I know he created the stuff for Impressions that was so impressive and everything. And he's a very hard worker. You should come see the shop. 5,000 square feet of costumes.
Yeah,
and props and scenery and.
What you said, scenery. So the sets are built in that same shop.
For Stage Door, we have a warehouse off premise that we call Stage Door Scenic, and we are constantly building. As you can imagine. And now this year we've taken on building for other companies as well,
Whoa.
which we're very excited about.
So within Kevin Black Productions, you've hired people, the musical director, costume designer, set designer. Was that your way of stepping back and allowing these other creative sources to come into the mix and make a whole entity?
Yeah, I mean,
did you do that right from the start, or was that something that developed over time?
No.
I know you said you did a lot of the costuming at first and the choreography and
that $3,000 didn't go very far. So I was creating the costumes, sewing them. I was doing all the music editing. I still do all the music editing. I love it. When it's a track show, I do all the projections. Love that. And I was directing and conceiving and choreographing and doing it all myself. Now, it wasn't until about 5 years ago when I partnered up with Stage Door when I realized there's some great talented people here that, you know, Dee is used to hiring. So, I mean, Michael McLean, for instance, I adore. I mean, his set for Swing, Swing, Swing was just stunning. And Dean Lanwies did the lighting, and Bagby and I did the arrangements. And I think, you know, finally I found a group of people that know who I am, know what I want, get what I want, and it's exciting.
Yeah, talk a little more about projections because
Okay,
you're
that's
using
funny.
them a
Yeah.
lot.
Both came out.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's a really specific skill. How did you get into that? How did you learn it?
Well, I just taught myself. So I have a ballroom show that's been touring for about 7 years now. So in the first ballroom show, when you're on a tour, you have to build a set and light it and tech it and sound check it in 4 hours. And you go. So in each venue, you have no idea what you're going to get. Especially lighting-wise. And, you know, lighting is really lovely and important to a show. So I realized, you know what, if I take this set that we have created that goes up in 2 hours, and I can digitally map imagery to turn that set into different feelings or aspects or help evoke what we're portraying on stage, then that can only help the lighting. And that is what I ended up doing. And I've just continued to do it ever since. I'm going to do a show without it, though, because everybody's like, oh, you're doing projections again.
Yeah.
How did you learn how to do that?
I've always done
Trial and
video
error?
editing. Yeah.
Wow.
I think.
Yeah, it's fun.
Been a lot of projection lately in theaters. A lot.
Cost
I always
effective.
thought because it's easier, and it is.
cost effective when you're in a small space without any fly or anything like that. It helps.
It's easier and it's not easier because unless you have the right projector, it doesn't really work very well.
The
And a lot of us
projector.
don't have the facilities that allow for projections to work really well. That's why, what Kevin does at Stage Door is
Yeah.
really terrific.
But I love projections that are integrated completely with a show. Anastasia, which is playing on Broadway and will
Right.
tour. The British version they brought over of Sunday in the Park with George, in which the art was created literally right in front of you. And it isn't just we got a projection and we can save money, but it's an artistic decision. So anyway.
Yeah, I love it. It's fun to put together. It's fun to do. Nobody bothers me. I'm in my room, in my office by myself, just doing this, turn the phone off. It's great. It's peaceful time for me.
Well, Andy says the projector, but what is that the person who is also
No, the
doing-
actual projector. Because
machine.
not
The
every
machine.
the machine.
The machine.
The ones that do really well are very expensive.
Yeah.
Very, very expensive.
20,000.
Because you're always having to project through light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you have the room to back project,
It's
and a lot of
it's a trick.
theaters don't have that.
It's tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the screen or whatever it's projected on, I won't say which theater, but is one theater that the separation is so bad that it just doesn't matter. So I'm thinking to myself, is it the projector who's running it? Is it the screen itself?
But now we got the LED screens that take up an entire
Right.
Yeah.
an entire back wall
Right.
that you can do all kinds of bloody
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
On the new cruise line that
Not
I've
my
started
place
working
to
on,
say.
we have a big LED screen in the
Well,
back.
I think we
and I'm
should-
just like, well, there we go. Perfect. Love it.
I think we should end with giving Broward Stage Door some credit too and letting everyone know where they can see a Kevin Black production. So we'll put up their website,
Beautiful. Thank you.
and that should help you and help them.
We appreciate
and
that.
mentioning the new facility. Will it still be called Broward Stage Door?
It'll be called Broward Stage Door at the LPAC. So we just put a little side note on the side.
Okay, and this is Spotlight on the Arts, so it's Spotlight on the Art. And once again, I have to end this really, really informative session. And if you want to know what else is happening in South Florida, it's very easy just to go to floridatheateronstage.com and continue to watch us because we do bring you everything that's happening in South Florida. See you next week. Thank you.